It's the country's #1 RVing radio show, sponsored by RVTravel.com, with your host, Alan Warren, the RV Wingman.
All right, I want to talk with you for a few minutes about the difference between being scared and being fearful. Being fearful or concerned. To me, they are not the same thing. They are related, but they are not the same thing. I've been told that I'm scaring people away from RVing, that people are literally scared of RVing, and it's all on account of this show and me. And most of those folks just so happen to work in the RV industry. And it seems like anything that I say that encourages people to slow down, to think, to ask questions, to not make an emotional decision, to not put yourself in a 15 or 20-year financial grave, well, they view that as me scaring people. Even a few RVers have said that some of the things I say scares them. So it makes them reluctant, if you will, about getting into the RV lifestyle. When I hear that from someone who is not actually in the RV industry, I always ask, are you scared? Or most of the time they say, well, I'm not really scared, but I am worried that I might buy a lemon, that I might get screwed, that I might make a mistake. Well, you know what? To me, that's a good thing. You see, to be concerned is not the same thing as being scared. So for you folks in the RV industry who are listening, I'm not sure if you'll ever believe this, but I am not trying to scare people. I am trying to present my honest opinion, my thoughts, my perspective on the state of the RV industry and my advice on how to buy a new RV. But it is not to scare people. Now, you know what? I wasn't always the way I am now. Several years ago, you could have called me Mr. Happy. I know it may be hard to believe, but when I bought a campground, I was so excited. I mean, I met so many people, happy people who didn't care if it was hot or cold or if it was windy, or our campers were happy, so I was happy. But something happened to me over the next few years. I still loved our campers, but one thing I noticed was that, man, there's a lot of people out there with problems with their RVs. Now, this transition from me being Mr. Happy to the RV Wingman, like I said, did not take place overnight. It happened gradually. We'd have cancellations from people who maybe had a reservation and said they had to cancel because they couldn't get their RV out of the shop that was working on it. They'd cancel because the rig had just broken down, actually, some of them, while they were literally on the way to our campground. They'd have to call and cancel. Then the folks that work at Big Chief at our campground, they'd tell me stories of helping campers where all sorts of things would happen. They'd come back and say, Alan, a lot of these people don't have a clue. They don't have a clue on what to do. So over time, Mr. Happy sort of turned into the guy who's asking, what's going on? I mean, why are so many people, these happy people, why do so many end up being frustrated? Why does their camping weekend they've been planning on for months turn into crap? Well, the way I see it, some of it is from poor construction at the manufacturer level. It is. Some of it is from the dealer who may do a horrible job of prepping for the customer that's buying the RV before they take delivery. And part of it, well, is due to RVers who simply do not have a clue. They're not stupid. They just don't know. Now, to be concerned is a good thing. To be concerned probably means that you are on the lookout. You realize there could be trouble up ahead, but you realize, and if you're ready, in case you run into that trouble, you know what to do. It's kind of like driving during rush hour. Are you scared or are you concerned? I guess if you're scared, you probably shouldn't be driving anyway. Anyway, if you're concerned, you're probably on the lookout for what's up ahead, what's going on around you, who's sneaking up behind you. Remember when you started driving? Remember, it was kind of scary. It was. Big old car, all those other people in their big old cars. Remember the first time you had to parallel park and you panicked? What happened? I mean, over time, you figured it out. And now driving is second nature. RVing's sort of like that. In the beginning, it can be scary towing or driving something bigger than you ever towed or drove before. Having to remember all the things that you need to do to connect, to use, and then disconnect from the campground. I'm telling you, it can be overwhelming. Then there's the maintenance. And what if the dealer sells you a lemon? I mean, I admit that it can be easy to work yourself and talk yourself out of RVing, but that is not what I want to do. I do have some basic tips for you on do's and don'ts when it comes to buying a new RV. Again, this is not a one-size-fits-all scenario, but generally speaking, first, do not buy out of emotion. That's the biggest thing, the first thing to remember. When you do, you will almost always make a mistake. I call it being intoxicated during the buying process. When that salesman is helping you imagine where you're going to be going, where your grandkids will be sleeping, when your mind starts racing with all the wonderful things that you'll be able to do with that perfect RV. You're going to be on a slippery slope, folks, sort of like being intoxicated. And your mind, well, it just can't think clearly. So do not buy out of emotion. I know it's not easy to do, but trust me on this. Secondly, if you're not an avid RVer, if you do not have a lot of experience with RVs, please consider paying an independent third-party inspector. Please, I can't tell you how many emails and phone calls I get from people that are saying, hey, they bought a such and such kind of RV, and a month later they learned out that the floor was rotted out. Or there was a phantom electrical problem. They discovered some delamination issue, and then they go, hey, Wingman, what do I do? Well, the truth is, you can't do anything. Actually, you can. It's too late for you to do anything. You're stuck with it, and it's your problem. You can yell, you can scream, you can blame the dealer, but the reality is that you had your chance before you bought it, and you didn't do your homework. I realize that this may be a bitter pill to swallow, and you may not even like me for saying it, but it's the truth. Once you sign on the dotted line, once you take possession, if the RV has a problem, it's your problem. If you happen to feel scared about buying an RV, I hope you'll take my advice or at least think about it. If you're still scared, maybe RVing's not right for you. But if you take my advice, I'll just bet you that you'll go from being scared to being cautious. And again, that's a good thing. Not all RV dealers are going to screw you over, not by a long shot, but too many will if you give them a chance. Buying local when you can from a dealer who's been in the business a long time, not from some new guy that just opened up, but from somebody who's been around a long, long time, is also a good idea. Buy from a local dealer and not from some giant chain. Keep in mind that your new RV is not going to be like the new car or truck that you bought. It ain't going to happen. RVs have got a lot of moving parts that your car and truck doesn't have. To expect that you can drive or tow your RV 20, 30,000 trouble-free miles is most likely a fantasy. The good news is that most RV repairs are not difficult to make, but you will have things that, well, they wear out, they break, and that's just a reality. So getting back to being scared, I do not want to scare you. I do want to encourage you, though, to take your time to realize that the perfect RV does not exist. The perfect RV dealer does not exist. At the same time, there are good RVs and great RV dealers. And the secret, if there is one, is to find the best RV dealer for you and buy from them. Because whatever you buy, I don't care if it's a pop-up or a $500,000 Class A, you will need a dealer sooner or later. And that's when you'll be very glad you took your time, did your homework, and bought from the right people. All right, finally, don't just blindly go and take somebody's word for something, not even my word. Do your homework. As always, I welcome your thoughts and comments. Just leave a message 24/7 on our voicemail. Listen to every single one of them. 1-330-WINGMAN. That's 1-330-WINGMAN.